live in Bokharachi, and I'm the assistant director at Tilt Gallery as well as an independent curator and art critic. I have the great pleasure and privilege of introducing our speaker, Azi Amiri, this afternoon. In a cold evening in October 2014, I met Azi in New York because of the generous fund that I had received from the director of School of Art, Adrian Hennig, to go to New York and work on my thesis. I was finishing the first chapter of my thesis, writing about Iranian artists in diaspora. Leaving the native country and our loved ones behind was the very first common ground that Azi and I found to speak about. One's life in diaspora shares the condition of being distanced from a people and a place with which they identify. Immigration is not solely about dislocation. It is also about the loss of a familiar environment and a set of relationships. In the process of moving to a new country, questions of identity, of self and others come to the surface. In thinking about an introduction to Azi's work, I couldn't help but think about these song lyrics from Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? I found a beautiful resonance between this poem and Azi's piece. You don't know what you have until you lose it. Family, a familiar environment, a peaceful moment, the moment before a war begins. It's the bittersweet specificity of these cultural references, and likewise the drawings and installations of Azi Amiri that present an intimate view of the emotional complexity of loss and suffering. Azi's installation, Turtles Cry When They Fly, explores the story of love and loss and a desire to find a balance between joy and darkness. Azi Amiri narrates a story of pain. Her piece is a melancholic gesture of mourning for all the lives and talents that have been lost in the wars. Amiri's tear container reveals small details while obscuring the larger story. It mirrors us, individually and as a group, to depict the suffering that we, human beings, go through in the times of war. Amiri received a BFA in painting from the Shahid University of Tehran. After she moved to the US, she continued her studies at the New York University and graduated with her MFA degree. Since then, she has been an educator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Morgan Library and Museum, and the New York University. She has exhibited her work in solo and group exhibitions nationally and internationally. She has also received a number of scholarships from different foundations and universities in New York, San Francisco, Chico, and State College. For organizing this project, I, as the curator, would like to thank the Phoenix Institute of Contemporary Art, FICA, and the co-founders and directors Ted Decker, Greg Esser, and Eddie Shea for giving us the opportunity to exhibit this beautiful piece. I would also like to thank Ladan Shojali, the CEO of Exosoft, for sponsoring this project and our artist reception. Last but not least, I would like to thank the ASU Art Museum and Heather Langberry, the Chief Curator and Associate Director, Andrea Feller, the Curator of Education, and Corey Rogers, the Administrative Associate, for organizing this lecture. Please join me in welcoming Azi Amiri.
Thank you, Elijan. I noticed that the microphone was very low based on my height. Thank you, Elijan, for a wonderful introduction, and thank you, ASU Museum, for giving me the chance to come here and share my works with you all, and thank you all for coming here and spending time with me and listening to my lecture. Today I'm going to discuss a little bit about my resources as an artist, my influences, and why I make art actually. And also I'm going to give you a brief history of my practice as an artist till I get to the recent work that I showed here, Turtles Cry When They Fly. My works are very related to my very own experiences. So because that they're very interrelated to my identity as a woman, as an Iranian, as a Muslim, and as an immigrant. All this package can make it a little sometimes difficult to be self-explanatory and needs some extra information for the viewer to read my works. works, there are four factors that are very have very strong influence on my practice as an artist. Freedom, war, theater, immigration. I know this is like a weird package sitting all these elements next together, but I'll explain in a bit how it works. The very first element is revolution. I was born in 1979. It was the year of revolution in Iran. I named Azadeh. Azi is shorter version of my full name, Azadeh. It means the person who is free. So I was expected to be free, and the idea of freedom stayed with me for whole life, and it influenced me not just as an artist, but also as a human being, a lot. The next element, which was very important to me, was war. And don't worry, I'm not going to show any graphic image. Honestly, I was looking for few images of Iran-Iraq war. I grew up during 8 years of Iran-Iraq war, and I was looking for few images to put on here, but they were all so upsetting, so I decided to leave it there. I grew up during this 8 years period of war, and this experience gave me and my generation, like Ellie, a very clear image of war and its consequences, not just in micro but in macro level too. A dreadful and outrageous image of war making us appreciate the peace more and more, and give us a strong inclination to stay away from any kind of war as much as possible. After high school, I studied food industrial engineering because I was good in math, so I shouldn't be artist. I joined a theater in engineering school, and it actually influenced my future artistic practice very strongly because the experience of theater gave me the feeling the fact that both viewer and player, the performer, need to be very present and attentive for the whole period of play. And also appreciation of performative art and also momentary and short-lived genre of art later on influenced my works pretty strong. The last elements in my works are immigration. This is the first image I took from Washington when we were landing to the US. I had a semi-immigration experience when I was second, third graders during the war when Tehran was bombarded frequently, so we have to go to a little village in center of Iran. But the main immigration was happening in 2008 when we moved to US. Being minority from a very different country, dealing with different rules, culture, and language on a daily basis. Feeling insecure by any changes, especially political change. Self-doubting myself in the most simple, everyday life tasks. There are just a few things that, as an artist, as a person and as an artist, I have to deal with every day. And of course, influence me and my art. These are the four main source of my works, and I guess we can jump into. Oh, this is me and Obama. I was a sophomore, and engineering that I decided to become an artist. So I took the national exam. I started studying BFA in Iran. My earliest works were very feminine, very figurative. This is a piece I made for my friend's mom who had breast cancer. Two factors pushed me toward from feminine work to more feminist work. One of them was as I grew up, I had more interaction with male-favored society more and more. And the second one was I joined an activist group, feminist activist group of 1 million signature, which gave me a broader understanding of issues we have in Iran as a whole. 2008, we moved to US, and it was a new chapter in my life. Dealing with this new environment, the new freedom, new kind of freedom that had made me busy with this idea of freedom for a period of time. I was in Pennsylvania when I came across this book. Plan of Attack by Bob Woodward. To me, it was very interesting to see two countries in a war and seeing a nation that most of the time are not aware of what's the reason behind this war, and being so detached from the consequences of the war that is happening to the invaded country. And bringing back all this memory of war made me to work on this book specifically. What I did is I chose a few sentences of some of the pages of the book and removed the rest, and then I added my own image to this book. So like this one says, and we're going to never seen anything like it, and I added my own image to this book. For this one, I understand what you said, which I'm pretty sure he didn't understand it. It was the time, 2010, that we thought my husband is getting a job in California, so I applied for MFA in California, Chico. And I started my MFA over there. The ephemeral aspect of my works developed more and more in California. This piece I made for a lady who was trial for adultery back in Iran. I made a red, I used this red nightgown. In Farsi, Hawa means air, and also it means desire. So to me, these balloons filled with Hawa, air and desire, holding this nightgown. I attached the gown with seven thread to 7 rocks, and it stayed on the ground for a while, but the wind, which is moving air, moved it back and forth till it released herself and flew away. Again, in California, I started working with sugar. Sugar was sweet, and honestly, it was cheap. I really enjoyed working with it. It's just the pleasure. The smell was good. It wasn't toxic, and it was more than anything else was ephemeral. I casted my own hand, and after a few 5-6 hours, the fingers started bending down, and a bowl of water dropped down and broke. It was a time that my husband California alone. And please hold on that idea because we need to get back to it later for the show I had in Phoenix. But I moved to New York, and I had to quit the school, unfortunately. I moved to New York, and I applied for school again, and I started my MFA at NYU. At NYU, at the beginning, I started working on paper. Paper had been always lovely for me. I always enjoy working on paper, either by hand or digital. Also, I made a series of work that was dedicated to people of Iraq. I made this work after hearing a trial that 3 army members, after killing a few dozen innocent people, were not charged for anything. I made a series of work for people in Syria. I embedded the images on the paper, and then I revealed the image by rubbing ink with my finger on the embedded image. So it revealed itself a little bit. As an Iranian woman, I knew that my head is not just head, my hair is just battlefield. The way you cover your hair in Iran is not just a fashion style, it's a statement you make which side of this game you're playing. When I moved to US, I felt that, okay, this is not just my hair, but I've been asked a few times that, could you have short hair back in Iran? I was like, sure. And it made me feel that just being an Iranian had another layer of social, political context to my hair. I made this piece, I worked with the idea of hair a lot afterward, and I named this piece, The Length Does Matter. This named Homemade is etching, again, because I had short hair cut back in. Working with Kiki Smith, I started printing a lot. I did series of monoprint with my own scarf, and then I added images and mixed media layers and layers of this monoprint. These are pretty big. These are 30 by 44 inches. We get to the tears container. Remember I told you I was in California, I missed my husband, I was alone, he was in New York. And I remember, it was a time that I remembered about the object, a container I saw first time 15, 16 years ago back in Iran in a glass museum. The beautiful container with round body, with beautiful long neck, and the top looks like eyes. I remember that I was told the side story of this object, which said like back then in ancient Persia and also in Western culture, female would actually collect their tears in this container when their husband went on war or on long trip, wasn't home. So they would collect the tears inside this, and this long narrow shape with the curve kind of keep the tears from evaporation. To me, when I was in California and I missed my husband, it was a rough tears container. But I modified the function of the tears container by making them out of sugar. I explored the contradictory of ephemerality and love and loss and pleasure and pain with this object. My tears container with made with sugar is very interactive. It's break down with humidity and heat very easily. And even human breath, even our body temperature, even the environment. Being here or New York is totally different in the cycle of life of my tears containers. Let me get back to this. The first version of the tears container I showed in New York. Here's a short video of one day. The show was up for almost 2 weeks, and every day I have to replace a new container in a gallery. I had a container out there with water and dripping water on the objects, and I actually cried in a small container and poured a little of my tears in it. It was so I wouldn't do that anymore. So it depends on how many people get to the gallery, how often the gallery's door get open and closed, the temperature of the room, every single tears container have different time. I take it right. Later on, I decided to try a different version of this tears container. This time I found it actually very proper myself to hold the story of war. With this work, I casted again the tears container with sugar, and then I projected a footage from a movie done by Iranian director Bahman Gulbadi. The name of the movie is Turtle Can Fly. It tells very sad stories about the kids and youths who stuck in a war situation, ceaseless war, and it's happened in Iraq, the Kurdish side of Iraq. I took 50 seconds of the movie and I slowed it down to 2 minutes. That 50 seconds was the most touching moments in the movie to me. And I projected the video through the glass, the sugar, the tears container. To me, I knew that the turtles can't fly, but they would cry if they fly. Kurdish lullaby, and the music is done by a very famous Iranian musician, Hossein Alizadeh, and the singer is my cousin. To me, let's get back to the. To me, this piece, the Tears Container, she's depicting the people who suffer the most in any war, which are women and kids mostly. And as you saw in this footage, the image is so abstract that you don't see what is happening. You know that the sound is an evidence that there is something going on, but it seems that because the image, the footage is projecting on her, I emphasize on that, the image is projecting on her, and through her, we don't see what's happening. And it's like she's holding this story inside herself. And as long as she's standing and she's holding the story, we never see the image properly. But as lots of human beings, when the pain is too much, she started to melting down, to bending down, to breaking. And it's the time that the images start revealing itself. With the show we had in FICA, by the end of the show, the tears container was almost gone and the image was clearly on the wall depicted. I think it's kind of like proving to us that we wouldn't notice the obscenity of war without a dramatic loss of lives. That's the end of my talk. Thank you very much.
Take questions.
If anyone have questions, please not very difficult ones. We wouldn't notice the obscenity of war without a dramatic loss of lives. Yes.
How exactly do you make your container from sugar?
Well, it actually was a very frustrating process to learn how. I took, honestly, 2 semesters, day and night. Well, the main materials are sugar, corn syrup, tartar powder, and water. And the mold, the last one I made is with silicone, though with rubber mold also it works pretty well. Yes.
I'm not familiar with the film that you were projecting. Is it realist or it looks kind of like animation, but just with the distortion?
Yeah, it's exactly because of the distortion, but it's it's a movie, and it's unfortunately very realistic. Yes.
Do you find that choice of film connected to the work on paper that you do?
Definitely, yes. Again, my works are very because that one of the reasons I'm a mixed media artist. It depends on the mood, on the moments what I feel. I choose the medium and I grab. But there are always lots of my works that tell the same stories over and over, but with different languages, maybe English and Farsi. Yes.
You mentioned when you were talking about your activities in Iran, you mentioned a feminist art activist group called 1 Million
Signatures.
Can you talk a bit more about that work?
So it was a group of artists, a group of activists who we were trying to give information about the rules that are actually in our constitution, mentioned in our constitution. And we're not aware of, let's say, I wouldn't know the divorce laws. So we had 10 rules that we wanted to change, and we had like prints, flyers, booklets. We have gathering to talk with other women, and our goal was having 1 million signature asking for the change of this law.
Did you achieve that?
Well, unfortunately, lots of the leaders were arrested or left the country, but that campaign still is working, yes.
And had a huge impact.
Yes, a huge impact, yes, definitely. Yes.
Do you have any predictions about how your work may have been different had you stayed in Iran?
If I showed the same,
No, if you had lived in Iran and you weren't dealing with questions sort of migration in terms of moving to an entirely new continent, but do you think you would be still interested in the same ideas?
migration, probably not, because this is something that I experienced when I moved here. But war, or probably I was thinking about working with about the refugees, or the subject that would probably make my mind busy. And also the inside political social situation inside Iran. Yes.
Because of like the ephemeral nature of the teeter bottles, and video kind of like making that into a more permanent thing, would you say that your work is more in the teeter bottles or in the videos of the actual like melting action?
Yes, this one is called this one is an old previous version of the work, the one that we had in Fine Cup. We didn't video that, so because that I showed. But with this one, yes, thank you for this one, because we didn't have dripping water, which
One's corridor.
You might just have to yell for a couple of seconds.
For the show here in Phoenix, we actually developed this idea a little bit further. So Azi combined the two pieces together somehow. For this one, Turtles Cry When They Fry, the original one, this one does not have the dripping waters. It's only the heat through the projector and also the temperature of the room, the temperature of the bodies, the humidity, all of these things affect the piece until it falls down. It actually deforms. But then the other one basically works with tears, symbolically. But for this one that we showed in Phoenix, we combined them together because it made more sense for the concept that we were working on.
And also, the other reason was that the show, the time that I showed this piece, I had 10 days or 2 weeks, I don't remember exactly, long period of time I left the object here in the gallery, so it's had time to break it down, or deshape it, let's say. But with FICA, we had just a 4 hours show, so we wanted to. And it was a different experience, which I'm happy with, yes.
Is your art present in Iran, in the media space of Iran?
No.
And is that just because?
Well, I have been presented by curators I was one of the shortlisted 10 artists who, I forgot the name of the group, but the 10 artists who are make the future art of Iranian, something like that, I forgot that. But it was chosen, and my works, the closest place that was shown was in Dubai, during the art fair in Dubai last year. But unfortunately not in Iran. Maybe some of the reason is because it's very commentary. Yes.
And Do you think that the Iranian people would like your art and would probably they would understand it?
That's a very interesting question because I have shown my works in different environments, and actually international, including Iranian, Middle Eastern, very much understand my works and get a connection with the works. Very well actually. Which was very interesting to me to see that.
And it has a lot of cultural context into it because of the war, the 8-year war between Iran and Iraq, and the femininity of her piece. So I think it's pretty much
there's lots of common ground.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
No more questions? Yes.
So you said that the music is a Kurdish lullaby.
Lullaby, yes.
So how are you weaving that Kurdish culture into the war then? I mean, was the Kurdish culture was implicated in the war targeted, and would people understand, would that even be translated, or it's just if they would understand that was Kurdish, or how is that identified?
I don't understand Kurdish, but I feel the music by itself, it's kind of shallow, it's very soothing, and it has the lullaby feeling in it, and I don't understand the lyric. The other thing is that Kurdish side of Iraq is next to the Kurdish side of Iran, and I had many Kurdish friends, and I really feel them, and I wanted to make a piece about their suffering. But the music, I just liked the fact that it was a lullaby, and it's from that region. Question?
Also, the movie, Azi, would you please tell us a little bit more about the movie?
The movie is Turtle Can Fly, done by Bahman Khobadi. It's produced 2004, and it won several important international prizes. And again, as I mentioned before, it tells the story of the youth and not just their suffering, and also the love and what happened to youth and kids when they start within our adult fights. Yes.
Do you cooperate with any universities, or are you completely independent in what you're doing? I mean, in terms, is your art your full-time job, or do you have?
Well, my works is very ephemeral, so it's not really money making.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
So I have to have a job. I work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art and in the education department. So. Yes.
Could you say something more about some other Iranian artists, either diasporic Iranian artists or Iranian artists who are in Iran that we could learn more about, or that you think are particularly affecting?
I congratulate you to have the Shirin Nishad piece here, to photography of Shirin Nishad, which of course she was one of my main how do you say ideal. I actually saw her works when I was in Iran doing my BFA in Modern Art Museum of Tehran. But also Bokharachi is a wonderful photographer. Shadi Ghazirian is a wonderful artist. Who else? Shojai is another wonderful. There are a big community of actual Iranian artists in California and New York.
The contemporary art scene in Iran is actually very active.
Very good.
Yeah, so Do you know any of the artists in Iran? Can you talk a little bit more about the younger artists, emerging artists in Iran, not in?
In Iran, the emerging community, I've been away from Iran for like 8-9 years, and unfortunately, I'm not in touch that much with the art community back in Iran.
It's been more than 40 galleries in Tehran itself, and it's been very active. It's very commentary. Unfortunately, it's very bitter, but well, the country is going forward. Where all of us are very positive about the new government, but it's also the whole society is a little bit bitter about everything, especially after the Green Movement in 2009. So, but it's been very active. It's been flourishing greatly.
Actually, Bokharachi lives in Tehran.
Nusha Tavakkolian as well. Yeah, she's a photographer. Her piece was published in what was the magazine? Times. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
You showed a couple of the tier containers with like different shapes. Is there any is there any do you specifically make a different shaped tier container for like a specific reason, or is it just?
No, it's actually one tiered container in different phases.
Oh.
So from the top up left, it goes all the way to the on the right, which is disappearing. So it just for the same container. Yes, please.
I was interested, is it similar to blowing a glass, how they produce these kinds of?
Actually, you can do whatever you can do with glass, with sugar. I won a scholarship to take glass courses, and basically you can blow sugar. You can use glass torch, to make shapes with sugar as well, as exactly the same way that you work with sugar. Casting sugar exactly the same way that you cast glass and the same material. Oh, the molding. The only difference is you can eat this one. Any more questions? Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time coming here and spending time with me. Thank you.